A sexual assault lawsuit that was filed against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs was resolved over the weekend. The artist's ex-girlfriend of over a decade, singer Cassie Ventura, outlined accusations of rape and physical abuse in her lawsuit on Friday, but only a day after the suit was resolved. In a statement, Ventura explained that she wanted to resolve the matter amicably and on terms that could give her some control. Now, clearly, we have a lot to talk about. I'm going to bring back in Bob. I'm going to bring back in Ron. And Bob, I'm going to start with you. Why do you think this was settled so quickly? I mean, one day. What happened behind the scenes here?
Well, it's interesting from the complaint. It seems like this is bigger than just what happened between the two of them, which is important because I think the Adult Survivors Act is due to expire. So there may be other people out there that there may be a concern, and again, because we haven't heard anything certainly from the defendant in the civil case that was filed that had just been settled. So there's going to be a lot of concerns there that if you file a complaint and then you have to file an answer, you're going to have to make certain statements that might be able to be used against you. You may have waiver arguments if there's a criminal investigation. And if there's things out there about sex trafficking, things of that nature, you know, it's a much more serious issue than just this lawsuit. Exactly,
Bob. You're raising some excellent points here. And Ron, that's kind of what I want to ask you about. This is a civil case. It was resolved. Could Diddy still face some criminal charges? I mean, the allegations were, frankly, quite serious.
Absolutely, it's 100% possible. A civil settlement does not in any way, make him immune from criminal liability. The thing that a civil settlement would kind of help, Diddy would be that Cassie or Ms. Ventura can't voluntarily go and do things now. That doesn't prevent her from telling the truth if she's compelled by law. But I don't think if there is criminal liability on the horizon, this really doesn't help him that much. What it does is it prevents him from saying something under the power of a deposition, right? It prevents him from doing that. He would have to, he doesn't have to go through the exercise like I take the fifth, because that just doesn't help anyone in the civil context. So it kind of put things to rest, but I don't know if it put things to bed.
Well, that's exactly right. And we've heard some reports, Bob, that in fact there might be others out there who have similar claims. They could either bring civil suits or in fact they could actually be a part of a criminal trial that could be brought.
Well, and what's interesting is in the remarks, which really by the defendant, which were very personal to the plaintiff, which sort of said almost like, I'm sorry, or I wish you well. His lawyer had to walk those back a little bit and said, let's make something clear here, that by settling this case, we're not admitting liability, and we haven't backtracked at all from denying, that these allegations actually occurred. So I think that, it's almost that situation, stay tuned.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things I was thinking about, Ron, is the fact that at the end of the statement that Diddy made, he actually used the word love.
Yeah. Yeah, just like my colleague says, it's very, very personal. And it could be one of two things. And I think people are complicated, and words can mean more than one or two things. But I think he's saying two things. One, please let this go to rest. Don't tell anybody about this ever again. And two, I think he really, at the end of the day, does have some affection for her on a personal level. But the attorney did come back and go, this doesn't mean he did anything wrong. Nothing's admitted. Don't construe it any other way, because things may come back.
Right. I think things could come back. And one of the things that I'm certain exists in this, resolution, this settlement, Bob, is an NDA, the non-disclosure. Now, that's all well and good as far as that civil suit is concerned, but can that hold up in the criminal trial? No, right?
Well, it wouldn't hold up in the criminal trial. I mean, the people, the U.S. government, wherever this case winds up, they have the right to prosecute those cases. The NDAs, where they are even enforceable, and they're starting to be, people are being released from those. Certainly in some states, like New Jersey, for instance, you can't even enter one of those. If you're a victim, you can't bind that victim. So, again, yeah, if this goes to another arena, it's probably not going to have any impact at all.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's interesting what is happening to NDAs now, particularly obviously in the civil arena. Ron, you know, how do you think this is going to affect Diddy's music career, if at all? I mean, it should have some impact. We did see, obviously, in other trials, how it does affect the musicians themselves, you know, so it could affect him here, correct?
I think it's 100% going to affect him, especially in the, you know, in the age we are with social media. You know, people are going to try to cancel him. The Me Too movement had a huge groundswell where a lot of this stuff really bites people when it becomes public. And just to go, in California, we cannot, I'm from California, anything having to do with sexual harassment, sexual assault in a settlement agreement, you cannot put in that you can't talk about it later. At all. You could still talk about it even if you resolve a claim. So I think this is going to open and maybe embolden other victims to come forward. And just to go back to the point, I think this will come back in kind of a way that, but, you know, again, he's a businessman, but this will affect him.
Yeah, it will affect him. I mean, I think he's going to have to look at his career right now, put some money aside. I mean, it could cost a lot of money to defend himself if, in fact, we do see some criminal trials brought.
Well, on the flip side of this, if he didn't have other things to worry about, you know, as we saw in the Johnny Depp trial, he said he brought that defamation suit in response to these allegations relating to the Me Too movement by his wife, you know, that to clear his name and to do, you know, just as Ron was saying, to try and rehabilitate, you know, himself in the public eye. That's not happening here, so it indicates that there's greater concern beyond that interest.
Right, I think there is a greater concern here. I mean, he's got to think about if, in fact, criminal charges are brought. He's got to think about if, in fact, other people come out and make claims. He may have to resolve those claims as well. So, I mean, I think he's looking at a long road ahead. These are some very serious charges, and I'm certain that if he had his way, he could resolve them all right now, but there's still that criminal element. Thank you both for being with us. Bob and Ron, you've done a great job breaking this down for us. We really appreciate it. And for our viewers, stay tuned for regular programming, Law and Crime.
I'm Anjanette Levy, and I'm here to tell you about Crime Fix, a new show right here on Law and Crime. Crime Fix is a daily YouTube show and podcast covering the most gripping, trending true crime stories of the day, 5 days a week.
A criminal complaint was filed charging the defendant, Mr. Kohlberger, with 4 counts of first-degree murder.
Crime Fix is quick, it's accurate, and unbiased.
We are here today to announce the arrest of 60-year-old Dwayne Keith Davis, a.k.a. Keefy D, for the murder of Tupac Shakur.
We give you the facts and what's really happening in the world of crime in a way that only a Law and Crime show can.
I would never hurt my wife, Maggie, and I would never hurt my son, Paul.
Mark is entitled to a new trial, and he will get a new trial.
Join us. You won't regret it.